Hello, I am singer-songwriter and music producer Rajesh Ravi, and today we're going to look at one simple trick we can use when playing simple guitar chord progressions to make them sound even more interesting. And that trick is, whatever your chord progression is, leave just the top string playing open at all times. Or leave just the second string playing open at all times, no matter what the chord. Or leave the first and second strings open all the time, no matter which chord you're playing. Or play the first two strings open and keep the second fret on the third string pressed no matter what chord you're playing. Or keep only the first string open, but then also the third fret on the second string and the second fret on the third string open, no matter which chord you're playing. And basically, then the chord shapes change only in the bottom 3, 4, or 5 strings. Alright, so that was it. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and please subscribe to my channel. Obviously, there's much more to it. And of course, I'm going to take you through different scales and show you some common chord progressions and how you can spruce them up with this trick. But before we get into that, I want to talk about situations in which this could be useful. Now, for example, if you're just a hobbyist or you just play guitar casually. Now, typically, such guitar players learn chords so that they can just have something to accompany them while they're singing. Now, maybe you just want to play in your bedroom and sing for yourself, or you're among friends and everyone's in the mood to sing and you're the only one who knows how to play the guitar. In such cases, you don't want to be opening chord sheets to every single song that people want to sing and then sit and learn the chords. Instead, what you can do is you can just pick a very common 3 or 4 chord progression, apply one of these conditions and just play without having to think. Because here again, if you have that condition of 1 or 2 or 3 strings droning constantly, you don't have to worry about anything sounding off, anyone's notes clashing with the chords you're playing, or whether the chords are right or wrong for the song are things you won't really have to think of. This even helps if you play cover songs live professionally, because you may be in a situation where suddenly you have to learn a lot of songs and there's not enough time. Or even more common is getting audience requests and you don't know the chords for the song and you don't have time to learn it. Or the singer you're playing for has a lot of medleys planned and of course you can't learn chords to that many songs in a short period of time. And if you're a singer-songwriter or composer, you now have more options to make your chord progressions more colorful. So regardless of the kind of guitar player you are, this is always going to come in handy. So to explain this, let's assume you're playing in the D major scale and say your chord progression is D major, D major, G major, A major. And let's assume that in that G major and A major part, the tune goes something like na 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 na, which is essentially just you're just singing the D note. So let's play that over those last 2 chords and see how it sounds. Now, if you noticed in that A major chord, the D note that we were singing was clashing with this C sharp note of the A major chord. So the condition we can put here is, no matter the chord, we always have to play the third fret of the second string, that is the D note, and the second fret of the third string, that is the A note. These have to be fixed no matter what chord we're playing. So D major will stay the same. Instead of G major, we get a G sus2, which is basically the G note on the 6th string, 5th string stays muted, an open D, an A note here, that's the second fret of the third string, and then the third fret of the top 2 strings. So we get a G sus2. And the A major becomes an A sus4, which is same as the A major, but instead of the C sharp here, you shift your ring finger to play the D note here. So now when we sing that tune on top of our new 2 chords, here's what we get. Now you see, the D note and the D note are matching. So again, by adding this condition of having the D note and the A note fixed here, we take all stress off of what chord progressions will any notes clash or anything. And strangely enough, if we're singing the C sharp note on this part, it is clashing with this D note, but somehow our brains are okay with that. As long as we have the root note and maybe also the 5th note of the scale droning, the sa and the pa, or the do and the so, which in this case happen to be D and A. As long as we have this droning in the background, then if notes clash, our brains seem to be okay with it. And that's why this is a way of foolproofing chord progressions if you're in any one of those situations that I mentioned. We'll revisit the D major scale later on, but I want to first start with the E minor scale. Now let's take a simple chord progression in the key of E minor, which is E minor, C major, G major, and D major. So let's add the condition that the top string or the E note has to stay constant no matter the chord. In that case, we get E minor, C major, the first 2 chords remain the same. However, the G major chord becomes a G major 6. You can play it this way, or you can use your ring finger to press on the third fret of the second string and play it like this, whichever voicing you prefer. And the 4th chord instead of a D major becomes a D sus2. Or another condition we can add is to keep the first 2 strings open, that is E and D, no matter what the chord. So E minor stays the same, but instead of a C major, you get a C major 7. You get G major 6, and of course can't use this voicing because our condition was that these 2 strings have to stay constant. And here you get the D6 sus add 9. Of course, you don't have to remember all of these chord names. This is only for those who are interested in music theory. So now let's compare the two chord progressions and see how they sound. Again, I'm not saying one sounds better than the other, it's just that they sound different. Another one we can try is leave the first string open and the second string constant on the third fret, that is the D note. So E and D have to be constant throughout no matter which chord we're playing. So then the chord progression we get is E minor 7, C major add 9, G major 6, and D sus 2. Now again, we can do a comparison and see what that sounds like compared to just playing simple major minor triad chords. We can always mix and match. We can use the E plus B condition for the first two chords, and we can use the E and D condition for the third and fourth chord. And now for some additional open chords in the E minor using such conditions. For example, this chord, the B minor add 9, which is essentially the B minor, but you add this open E string, or the B sus 4 with the top two strings open, or a B minor 9, which is a B minor 7 but the top E string open. You can also play the A sus 2 chord or the A sus 4 chord, which we'll be seeing again in other scales, such as the E major scale. Now for the E major scale, I would recommend always having these two strings open if you're going for this approach. So again, if we have a chord progression of E major, B major, C sharp minor, and A major, we now add the condition that the top two strings, the E and B, have to be open. You get the E major, the B sus 4, the C sharp minor 7, and the A sus 2. By the way, if you're liking the video so far, please don't forget to hit that like button. It'll really help me a lot. Thank you. Additionally, you can also play this chord called the F sharp minor 9, which is essentially the 4th fret of the 5th and 4th string, the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. If you can, try to also play the F sharp note on the bottom string by using your thumb on the 2nd fret of the 6th string. But if it's too difficult, it's fine, as long as you mute it. And then this is the chord you get. And this chord also exists in the F sharp minor or A major scale. They're essentially the same scale. Again, let's assume you had a common chord progression of F sharp minor, B major, A major, and E major. Again, let's put the overriding condition of E and B have to be constant. So then you get the F sharp minor 9, D6 sus add 9, A sus 2, and E major. Now here again you have that G sharp, which might clash with the root, that is the A note of the A major scale. So then what you could do is you could add a third condition, which is E and B have to be open, and also A, the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, has to be fixed. So in that case, your first 3 chords will remain the same, but then your 4th chord becomes an E sus 4 instead of an E major. And here again you can mix and match roles, like you can have the F sharp minor 9, you can have the D sus 2 instead, you can have the A sus 2 or the A major, and then you can have either the E major or the E sus 4, whatever you like. Now let's look at the D major scale. Now again, the condition we can have is the D note on the 2nd string, that is the 3rd fret, and the A note on the 3rd string, which is the 2nd fret, to be constant. So again, if the chord progression was D major, A major, B minor, and G major, we now get D major, A sus 4. Now if we had to stick to our condition for the B chord, we'd have to play a B minor 7 with this exact voicing. But if you want, you can change the voicing and make it this if you want to break the rule. Or if you want to keep the rule constant, you can have the B chord but just have the E string open as well. And for the G chord, you would get a G sus 2 instead of a major. Another condition you can add to this is the D and A being constant and the E string being open. So then the chords you will get are Now let's look at the G major scale. I already know we looked at the E minor scale, which is the same thing as the G major scale. But when you're thinking G major scale, here's one condition that will work. And that condition being the 3rd fret of the first 2 strings need to be played at all times. That's the G and the D note. Again, the root and the 5th of the scale. So again, if the chord progression is instead, what you get with that G plus D condition is finally, another common scale we can look at is the C major. Here, one condition that works well is leave the E and the G strings open. So again, if your chord progression is C major, G major, A minor, F major, what you get instead is now that last chord, that F major 7 sus add 9, what you do is keep the 3rd fret of your 4th and 5th string pressed. Keep the 1st fret of the 2nd string pressed. Now again, your E on the 1st string and G on the 3rd string are open. If you can, with your thumb, play the F note on the lower string, but if you can't, as long as it's muted, it's fine. And so then you get this lovely chord. So I hope this video helped you in some way, whether you're a casual guitar player or a professional one or a songwriter or a composer. And of course, if you liked the video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I will see you in the next video. Till then, ciao.